They don't even know what they're voting for in the elections. Most people don't know that in 2.5 years from now, there's going to be local government elections. There's going to be posters all over the place again. And they're going to be confused. They're not going to understand how this is happening again, because people ask me, do you have a candidate in this tiny municipality? And it's national elections. We have candidates everywhere. Even us as an organization would dissolve as a political party. We would cease to exist, and so would all other political parties. And in our manifesto, we describe exactly how.
Welcome to the State of the Nation. As we build towards the 2024 general election, we've had many of the parties sitting here explaining what they stand for, many of the big parties, and we've even featured some of the lesser-known parties and some of the new parties with new ideas. One of those parties is the Organic Humanity Movement, and their leader is Lauren Evantio Bernardo. Lauren joins us. Lauren, welcome to the State of the Nation.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to have this discussion with you.
Yeah, it's look, your team has been relentless in trying to get you on the State of the Nation, which is a compliment to us. And you know, it is. And I've looked at your manifesto, and it is completely different. You know, we've had two parties here. One being Bongani Baloy's Chaluba, and the other being Jacob Zuma's Umkhonto weSizwe party. And in both cases, when I thought I'd heard every crazy idea, they want to return to some kind of traditional leadership, right? Where you would have kings telling us what to do and, you know, tribal council finding you 2 cows. On the other extreme is what you are saying. You want to be the party that ends all political parties.
That's it. That's going to hopefully be our claim to fame, because we believe the multi-party system as it stands right now is actually the hurdle that is standing in the way between where we are now and South Africa actually progressing. So the multi-party system, we want to do away with it completely, which means even us as an organization would dissolve as a political party. We would cease to exist, and so would all other political parties. And in our manifesto, we describe exactly how. But what we want to do is bring a system that I believe the people of South Africa will actually be excited about. A system where you vote directly for your representatives, including the president of the country. So if all goes well, according to OM's manifesto, pretty soon, one day, you and everyone else that votes will vote directly for your future president. There won't be a political party that representatives will be able to hide behind. Because right now, you have to prove loyalty to a party to get your position, to be on the list or whatever. And if you don't like your representative, there's no recourse. There's nothing you can really do to get them out of government at all. And we want to change that. So we want to just improve our form of democracy that we currently have through getting rid of the multi-party system.
Do you not think that a constituency-based system achieves that? Or do you think that parties, everybody must be independent? There must be no political party. It must just be a collection of individuals.
Well, right now we have a system with the recent Electoral Act changes that makes provision for independents that are regionally based and political parties working together. I believe that will never, ever result in a true democracy. So we believe in no political parties, but there is a bit of constituency-based elections taking place because our MPs will be constituency-based. In fact, we will require that they do come from their constituencies. They will represent more or less, if we keep the 400 seats, which we are proposing to do so, they will represent around 150,000 South African citizens.
Okay, well, it's quite a radical system, and let's just talk about one of the things that I've asked some of the people that have come along here with unique ideas.
Okay.
Give me a for instance. Where is this working?
Oh, there's nowhere. This will be a first. It'll be history in the making. And because it's the first, my vision, my personal vision here, is that I hope that one day the rest of the world, England, Canada, the US, all of Europe, who sit on their high horses thinking that they're so advanced, will look to South Africa and be like, wow, we will take their breath away with the kind of country that we're running. That's my vision. So this hasn't been done before. This is completely new, completely revolutionary. And I believe the country is ready for it. We're ready for a change in the right direction.
Yeah, look, there's. I suppose we mustn't confuse our disaffection with politicians with, I always say, I said, for example, to Gayton McKenzie, who came along saying he would suspend the Constitution and hang people and this and that and the other. I said, well, what is it that the Constitution's stopping you from doing, right? And he couldn't really answer it because he was on the next breath he tells me what a wonderful job he did as mayor of Beaufort West or Central Karoo. And I said, well, where wasn't the Constitution stopping you from doing a good job? To which he said absolutely nothing, because sometimes we mustn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Is the problem the system, or is the problem the people who we are electing?
Both.
Right?
It's both. Okay.
Now, let's talk about what that would look like, because I'm just seeing one terrible mess. Gridlock is the term that comes to my mind, and that is 400 individuals from all walks of life sitting down in Parliament with with one of those people being president, right? How on earth are you going to get anything done?
Well, we'll start to function like a democracy. So the problem with our current multi-party system is the mentality that prevails in National Assembly. People have this mentality of we're the winners and you're the losers. So the ruling party, the top three parties occupy 90% of the seats. 90. We have 14 parties in Parliament. 3 occupy 90% of the seats. I think that is not a true democracy. So firstly, let me just disclaim here.
Joe, can we stop there?
Yeah, sure.
Surely that's also the will of the people. If 3 parties have 90% of the market, I mean, quite simply, 4 of our banks have about 95% of our banking.
It's not the will of the people when you look at the political system and how inaccessible and how undemocratic it is, especially when it comes to new emerging parties playing in the political arena. So it's actually not the will of the people. Also, why it's not the will of the people is because, for instance, look at the statistics. 2019, 17 million people cast their vote, 18 million people did not. So no, it is not the will of the people.
Yeah, although those numbers are in line with what happens internationally.
Doesn't make it right, though. So we have a democratic crisis across the entire world. I don't believe in any country in the world we have a true democratic country. And when I say a democratic country, that's just what I wanted to say as a disclaimer. I don't describe a system of governance as democratic. I believe in your system of governance, you apply democratic principles. And so across the world, we have countries proclaiming to be democracies. How they apply democratic principles is up to them and inefficient, in my opinion. So we want to get better. I know America has a lower voter turnout than us, but they are observing our elections this year. It's quite funny. I think we should send people to observe their elections. And so we have a majority rule mindset that exists in Parliament, which means the members of Parliament do not understand democracy nor respect their office, their positions that they are holding. So instead of politicians arguing over passing specific laws, everyone that has a bum on a seat is there because they are representing a percentage of the population that voted. And because they're representing a percentage of the population that voted, there's not one single seat in that house that is more important than another. And they don't treat it that way. So the mentality in our democracy is wrong to begin with.
While we're on the subject of mentality, are you not envisaging a situation where there's 400 Laurens sitting in Parliament with the best interests of the country in mind? And that system that you're proposing is just as easy to manipulate, one would imagine, if not easier, than the current system.
I don't think it's easy at all, because we have something built into the system that I believe will make South Africa the first true democracy in the modern world. So across the world, in countries that proclaim that they are democracies, we only have 50% democracies maximum. We can vote people in, but we have no power to vote people out. And that's especially true in a multi-party system. So in the system we're promoting, where independents are elected to public office, we have a system in place where a percentage of a constituency can apply to the IC put forward a motion of no confidence against XYZ candidate, and then a by-election will take place at whatever level of government. So even if it's a mayor, even if it's an MP, if there's a motion of no confidence, a by-election takes place and someone else has the chance to be put into power.
I suppose the closest thing we've got to this in the world is Switzerland, that keeps on having plebiscites, or they keep on going to people with constantly have what do we call them when everybody votes on an issue?
A referendum. But
right?
this is not a referendum.
They have referendums, but on the most minor issues, right?
Petty politics.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the voice of the people, isn't it? So they would say, we're having a referendum on whether we should, build this highway, and people would have to vote. But that's Switzerland.
And I'd say that's rather clumsy. It's very possible in a situation like that nothing will get done.
Yeah, I'm struggling to see how things are going to get done under your system.
How come?
Because I'm thinking of, for starters, if I want to be a candidate in the Johannesburg region.
Yes.
Right. Now, I suppose what you have in mind is that I sit over there and I work very hard, and I go and tell my mates, and the next thing I've got a little bit of a support crew.
You campaign.
And I campaign, but it's not me. And if I decide to do that and you decide to do that, but a third person arrives that's got money, they are going to recruit people to go and campaign for them. And there you have a party system all over again.
You don't actually have a party system.
But I'm saying you will have, in essence, a party system.
Not at all. Because that individual, they're the ones choosing to stand up for themselves. They're not answering or hiding behind a political party brand.
No, I know that. But what I'm saying is, in the example I gave, let's say you have 3 candidates. 2
and
are
one
wonderful,
is richer than the other.
and one throws money at it. Right? What is he doing? He's building a structure. And that structure is what we would now call a political party, isn't it?
But it won't be a political party because it will get no recognition from government. Political parties get hundreds of millions of rands a year from taxpayers' money that the government gives them, not to pay representatives, to run administration. So that will be gone. Can, for instance, an organization like a church or school governing body put a candidate forward? Absolutely. Yet, in this democracy, and I don't think many South Africans actually understand what a democracy is. And this almost frightens me sometimes. The quality of any democracy, it doesn't matter if it's this multi-party system or a future system, the quality of any democracy is highly dependent on the quantity of citizens that get involved. And we don't have involved citizenship. People don't want to get involved. And if you don't want to get involved, and I say this collectively, then expect tyranny, expect a dictatorship, expect a failed state. It's on you for not wanting to get involved. And when it comes to one candidate being more wealthy than another, when it comes to one candidate having a bigger team than another, the citizens still have to hear what this candidate is saying and decide based on that person's principles and policy propositions to decide if they're going to vote for them or not.
You don't think that system opens itself up even wider to corruption? I could see that system being very, very open to corruption, even more than what we currently have.
Well, there won't be cadre deployment for starters.
I think there would be a version of that,
How?
absolutely. Is that if I'm really wealthy, mining company or whatever, right, I'd imagine to go and buy 201 independent candidates living on who, as per your proposal, are not going to be paid. They're going to be volunteers. Right? Or is that only in your party? They're going to get paid.
No. That's in the organization.
Right, so you're going to get 201 people getting paid a parliamentary salary. You can surely recruit those people very easily.
They still have to win the election. All 200.
No, I'm talking about once they've won the election.
No. So you're saying one mining boss is buying 200 people to be candidates.
No, not to be candidates. I'm saying forget that part.
Oh, once they're in power.
Once they're in power, right? Very, very easy to go and buy a whole lot of people whose futures are very uncertain because this is a very democratic situation. To me, it is a situation that is fraught with potential. It would only take a person with a devious mind maybe 10 minutes to come out with three ways to rig this system, one would imagine.
I think this is why we have the voting out clause in the system. So if people recognize that their representative is not working in their interests, then they vote them out. And I think for one company or corporation to go by 200, you still have the other 200 that are unbought. And then you're also going to have different wealthy people trying to influence different candidates. But it still stops at the people. The people can vote them out. The people can stand up. So what we're trying to do is create a philosophy and put in practice a mentality where the people are empowered above government. So the government is designed to serve the people. That's how it should be. Right now, it's the other way around. So the model that we are proposing at national level and the responsibility that national government will have, I don't believe those mining bosses you speak of or whatever will truly have any benefit in buying people, because the real governance that affects you and me daily on a day-to-day tangible basis will take place at a local level.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So, for example, any country is going to need roads and railway and harbours, etc. Electricity grid, if it worked. These are big contracts. These are services usually provided by the state, right? Would the state still be providing those services?
The state will still have, so the national state will be looking after three areas. One is the defense of the country, which will include military, intelligence, and defense of the borders, as well as international relations, for instance. And then it will also include the justice system. It will also include infrastructure and resources. And that would include mines, it would include roads, it would include large infrastructure such as energy as well, because those things are needed for state security.
Answerable to who? Those structures?
Well, the people. We're in a democracy.
Oh. Okay, so for example, I get to run the power utility.
Okay.
Right? Who am I answerable to?
Parliament and the president.
Okay, so now let's talk about the president. Because, what I'm seeing at the moment is an odd turn of events that's happened in the modern age, and that is somebody like Donald Trump, right, is largely popular because he has name recognition.
True.
The guy's been on television.
Yeah.
He's a celebrity. Everybody knows his name, etc., etc. If there was another candidate who was great, couldn't compete, because in this case 90% of the population know his name, and for the other guy 5% know his name. Okay. You're going to end up with celebrity presidents.
Celebrity presidents.
Exactly, because we're kind of heading there, right? Celebrity presidents are a real issue at the moment.
But
right?
that's assuming Donald Trump won solely because he's well known. I think he won because he was willing to say things that were unpopular.
Okay, that's fine. But all I'm saying is that the fact is that presidential races end up being popularity contests, right? In a direct democracy where you are directly voting the president, then it's a popularity contest of that president. If you look at currently, the closest thing that I can think of that comes to that is America, where you literally go and you pick this candidate or that candidate. It's a popularity contest. But what does it all become down to? It all becomes which one I like more, which one I'd prefer to have a beer with, which one makes me laugh, which one I'm scared whether he's going to fall on the stage.
So you're saying someone that's likable, not efficient, will win over someone that's...
I'm saying worse than that. I'm saying the guy who's popular would win, right? And there's famous and infamous, and as we've seen with Jacob Zuma, the two are interchangeable, right? So,
do you think Jacob Zuma would win in the system we're proposing?
Yeah, I think he would win.
An outright majority?
An outright majority, because he's got name recognition. If he sat on the stage and argue, for starters, he's not going to debate anybody, right? He's just going to say, remember me as my smiley face, you crack a few jokes, do a few dance moves, and everyone's going to fall for it, right?
Is everyone going to fall for it?
Yes. I'm saying it. We've got living proof of it in South Africa, for example, with his popularity. What are his policies? Policies are a joke, but people are prepared to follow the guy because he looks like the kind of guy you want to have a beer with. The same goes for a Donald Trump. He's been on the screens for years, Does anybody really care about his policies? They backfilled the policies, right? The thing is, it's a popularity contest, right? So he wouldn't even debate in the Republican primaries because he didn't have to. He could rely on his celebrity. So, I'm concerned about the potential manipulation of a system that you're envisaging.
I honestly think that the power lies in the hands of the people at the end of the day.
The power always lies in the hands of the people. It's a question of whether, what system do they get and whether take South Africa, has been poorly governed for 30 years. That doesn't stop people from voting them out if they didn't like them. Whatever.
Again, we have to go back to the voter turnout, both in America with Donald Trump, as well as here in South Africa. In both countries, you have broken systems. In both countries, you have the majority of the population who are old enough to vote completely disaffected by the systems that govern their societies, their countries. And they are not going to the ballots. America has a worse voter turnout than us.
Lauren, sadly, you get to earn the hairstyle that I've got. I've been around the block, right? And people not voting is a fact of life. You probably know them as well. Those people that were at school with you,
I was one of them. Right? I was one of them for at least 2-3
how many of those people would you really want to have vote? A. Secondly, is not voting not a choice, right? I'm sort of putting this forward, and I'm saying that why do we immediately assume that people aren't voting because the system's broken? Why aren't we assuming that people don't vote because they would never vote, even if they had wonderful choices?
It's a case-by-case basis, but as far as I can see, with my experience with starting the organic community movement, so many of our members have never voted before because they don't trust the system, don't trust the politicians. And for the first time ever, they see a way forward where South Africa can actually become a strong, sovereign state, because we do not have sovereignty. We have a name, it's called South Africa. We have a constitution that's been given to us, handed down, and we are following that like blind sheep. And because of that, and because of the system we have, our country just is diminishing into nothingness. Infrastructure is failing, the economy is declining, and people are suffering more and more and more. And there is a way out, and I believe that is through changing how we elect our leaders and changing the government structure, and then changing the responsibility of government at different levels. And when we do that, we also want to empower people to understand how the system works. You know how many people I've met that have never read the Constitution, that don't understand the difference between the 3 spheres of government. They don't even know what they're voting for in the elections. Most people don't know that in 2.5 years from now, there's going to be local government elections. There's going to be posters all over the place again. And they're going to be confused. They're not going to understand how this is happening again, because people ask me, do you have a candidate in this tiny municipality? And it's national elections. We have candidates everywhere, because it's not about local government, it's national government. So it's ignorance on all levels that's put us in the situation we're in. So I'm saying it's time, if you want to see a different future, it's time that we take responsibility and understand that if we don't vote, then those in power get a bigger piece of the pie. And then it becomes more of a dictatorship and less like a democracy. So, Ohm's plans could absolutely fail because people are lazy and complacent. And then that's just it. That's just the collective consciousness of this country. At least we would have tried. And if people don't want freedom, if people don't want the responsibility of freedom and the responsibility it takes to be a citizen, not a subject, a citizen, then they deserve what's coming.
So you've had to, in getting Ohm going, you've had to jump over a couple of hurdles. One of the hurdles is you have to go get a whole bunch of signatures.
It's a new hurdle.
It's a new hurdle. I know that, there's obviously these elections are very good for the country, because it's forced us to rethink a lot of the things we've done, and but it hasn't stopped a plethora of new organizations and parties coming along. How easy was it for you to clear those hurdles?
Relatively. So firstly, I just need to say, to start a political party is exceptionally easy. So enshrined in our constitution, as flawed as it might be, is the right for any South African citizen to stand for public office. How did we do that? Prior to 2023, we did that by starting a political party. Now, because of the changes in the Electoral Act, independents can also run for public office. So before, all you needed was 500 Rand, 500 signatures, which was later changed to 1,000 signatures, and you're registered as long as your constitution isn't exclusive or discriminatory in any way. And it's pretty easy. Now what you have to do to contest, so still to register is easy. You still follow that process. To contest elections costs money. It always has. The price hasn't changed much. We had to pay 300,000 to contest nationally and in all the regions. And then if you wanted to also contest all the provinces, we're not contesting provinces, but it would have cost 750,000. So this is where the democracy becomes unequal. And those in the National Assembly who made these changes, I think did so on purpose. So what you have are political parties, the 14 in national government, getting funding, millions, according to the percentage seats they have, millions of rands a year from government to run their organization. So they have structures, they have offices, they have staff. A new party comes along, new emerging parties, and it's not just OM, all emerging parties suffer this. You start from scratch often. And for me, it was all by myself. I started all by myself. The concept, the idea, I wrote the constitution, then came up with some plans before I started approaching people. And then you grow slowly and slowly and slowly. And then it was, for the first 2 years, we had maybe 150 Rand in donations from other people, which is nothing. And then things started to get better after the first 2 years. So the hurdles are huge in that sense. Membership is hard because people want to vote. They don't want to be part of a political party. They just want to vote for a solution. So they don't want to be active. So the hurdles for any new emerging party is big. It's challenging. It's more challenging because of the inequality in the system. So imagine you're a massive corporation selling t-shirts, and now someone else comes along. They are spinning their own cotton, making their own t-shirts in their backyard. How do you compete? And how do you compete between the two? The one product, the small business product, might be superior, but they'll never have the resources to reach the wide audience that the already funded organization has.
Okay, so let's talk about your expectations, because in a couple of weeks, South Africa goes to the polls. Mm-hmm. You guys have been out there with a unique idea, starting from scratch. Do you think you'll get a seat in Parliament?
We're not expecting one. It would be nice. We want to see growth. We got 7,000 votes in the 2021 elections. So we do want to see growth. We would
Where were
love
those votes?
All over the country. We contested in 50 municipalities. It was local government, not national. So with local government elections, you choose which municipalities you want to contest in. We had 50 municipalities. In those 50, we got 7,000 votes. So we want to see massive growth. We'd love to see massive growth. If we get a seat or 2 or 3, obviously it's welcome. So the best case scenario would be that there's a huge voter turnout. People are voting for newer parties, emerging parties. OM gets enough votes to get a seat. That would allow us to start lobbying other politicians to change the constitution. And I think that's going to be something that will accelerate our vision and our plan. But at the same time, what we really want to do is really establish our structures on the ground, because as an organization, we have 4 phases. And that is growth, number 1, and we're continuously in the growth stage until we reach a certain point. Next would be organization. So once you have enough numbers, then you start to organize in a certain way to get things done, which leads to mobilization. So when you have enough numbers and you're organized properly, then it's time to mobilize. And you can mobilize to solve local community problems, but you can also mobilize at government level elections. And the fullness of that mobilization will be seen in the 4th stage, when we've got enough numbers and we mobilize effectively during the election campaign to the point where we can change the government.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's a novel idea, and the novel idea is let's democracy, let's democratize democracy, where everybody is elected directly. It's not even a constituency-based system, it's a direct electoral system. A lot of people have said that they would like to know exactly who's representing them and who they voted for, and, as Lauren has told us, recall them if you think that they're doing a bad job. I think that part of it is quite novel and worth consideration. If you're looking for a different idea for the next election, consider the Organic Humanity Movement. Lauren, Barbanta, Bernardo, thank you so much for coming through here. It's really been interesting. I mean, it's a great idea that needs a lot of thought, and really I do wish you the best in the election. I know that you've put in a lot of effort. To everybody that's joined us today, go and support Pace Car Rental. You would have seen our ad. They're sponsoring this episode. And remember, your vote is very important in the next general election. As Lauren has said, we want people to get out there and vote. We need our democracy to work. And the first part is to have a high electoral turnout. So everybody watching this, thank you so much for watching this. Go and vote. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you the next time. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us on the State of the Nation.
Thanks so much. And I do really hope people do take that call seriously to go and vote, because the government has power over you anyway. You're getting taxed anyway. So you might as well make sure that those in power have less power to begin with until we pass our new constitution.
Thank you so much.